Now we have to consider the popliteal fossa. First we have to identify its boundaries. Basically its roof is formed by the deep fascia, not superficial fascia, which is a common misconception. The deep fascia is a popliteal fascia which covers its roof and contains the cutaneous nerves and vessels like the sural communicating nerve, posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh, as well as the lateral cutaneous nerve. But the superficial fascia, which is present even above the deep fascia, it is basically pierced by these nerves. Like you know that the posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh as well as sural communicating nerve with the communicating nerves, and they have to even travel through the superficial fascia. So superficial fascia contains these nerves, and these nerves even pierce the deep fascia known as the popliteal fascia to become the superficial. So roof is formed through deep fascia or popliteal fascia, and when we consider its medial side, we have a muscle with a long tendon arising from the inferior-medial part of the ischial tuberosity and extending onto the upper medial surface of the shaft of the tibia, which is known as semitendinosus. And beneath this muscle, which has been cut in this section, we have a strong band-like muscle known as the semitendinosus muscle. Semitendinosus muscle basically it inserts into the posterior surface of the medial condyle of the tibia and arises from your hip bone. On the lateral surface, we have two muscles. You have long head of biceps femoris as well as the short head of the biceps femoris. They are basically fused, but in this section they have already been cut. You can see it's a long head which is superficial and the short head is somewhat deep. All these muscles, both these muscles, they arise along with the semitendinosus from the infromedial part of the ischial tuberosity, and they are attached to the head of the fibula on its superior aspect. So we have this long head of the long head biceps femoris, which is basically also involved in the hamstring, and then we have the short part which is supplied, long head supplied by the common peroneal nerve, while the short head supplied long head tibial nerve, and short head supplied by the common peroneal nerve. And now we have to consider the contents in between. When we consider from the top in the sciatic nerve, which originates from the pelvis, and in moving, even before moving into the thigh region, it splits into the two parts. One of them is a tibial nerve, which is a straight continuation of the popliteal of the sciatic nerve, and the other is a common peroneal nerve, which moves along the side of the biceps femoris, and then it moves under the arch of the soleus, where it divides into the superficial and the deep peroneal nerves. So when we consider the center of this compartment, we have the tibial nerve on the superficial aspect, and below it we have the popliteal vein. This is a popliteal vein, and below this vein we have an artery known as a popliteal artery. So basically these are three structures. You have to consider this from superficial to the deep aspect. The top is the tibial nerve, then you have to consider the popliteal vein, and then below it is the popliteal artery. This region moves straight in this region. The popliteal vein, it basically drains the short saphenous vein as well as the accompanying vena comitatus of the popliteal artery. Your tibial nerve is a straight nerve in this region. It moves straight, and then it even moves down the leg and then it supplies the posterior compartment of the leg as well as the sole of the foot. And your popliteal artery, it divides the deep structure in this region. It divides into the anterior and posterior tibial artery. Anterior tibial artery, it moves in the front through the interosseous membrane. The posterior tibial artery, it moves in the posterior compartment of the leg. So these are basically the boundaries of the popliteal fossa which you have to establish, and in the next video we will consider the clinicals.